waiting for everyone. I'm going to post this in the comments, which is the link. I'm going to pin it for my show. I'm trying to raise money to pay my cast and crew more. That's really what's happening. That is literally what's happening. Yeah, thank you for hey, thank you for joining me. So today the stream is called Let's start again. Hello, my name is Trixie. Today I'm streaming about living with cPTSD. We're going to talk about anxiety. Again, I am streaming to also help promote, thank you. Oh, brain, yes. Promote my GoFundMe. And today we're talking about anxiety because my dance film is about anxiety, and there's definitely another piece or another dance in my stage, in the staged piece we'll be performing in June, that is about anxiety as well, because I have anxiety and I live with anxiety. I'm diagnosed anxiety. So one of the times I used to go to group therapy. No, not group therapy. Sorry, that's not group. When I went to support groups, I did do group therapy, but this is something else. When I went to support group, I met someone and they introduced themselves as having PTSD with anxiety and depression. And I was like, how did you say it? She said, I live with PTSD and it presents with anxiety and depression. So I was like, oh, is that me too? So I kind of copied her because I was like, yeah, that seems right. Because I mean, I've been diagnosed for all three in different occasions, but anyways, yeah. I do have anxiety, and I just thought it was like an interesting way to present it because I was like, does my PTSD, how does it manifest? And obviously PTSD has its own symptoms and it's its own diagnosis apart from anxiety, depression, but comorbidities are a thing. And yeah, okay, I'm starting to ramble. So I'm going to go on. So I have anxiety. And so I made this piece in October. It was called The Monsters of Phi, I, and One, which Phi stands for fight, I stands for flight, and One stands for fawn. And the four like responses to like stress or trauma or anxiety can be like, right, fight, flight, which we were taught about forever. Then there's fawning, which I think of like trying to keep things together and kind of like trying to placate people and do what they want. And then there's freeze, right? When we all get like stressed out, that's like another stress response. Like you freeze, like you don't know what to do. And we all froze. We all end up like freezing in the dance. Sometimes literally, but as a response to stress and our anxiety, sometimes we freeze in the dance, figuratively. So I wanted to do this dance because anxiety is a big part of my life, and I've made multiple pieces about anxiety, but I wanted to do like a story. So this piece had voiceovers recorded by my sister, Tiffany Ray Malari. She was kind enough to lend her voice. So there was a lot of narration because I wanted it to feel kind of like a myth or like I feel like fairy tale has like the wrong connotation, but something like that. Basically, where is it? I wanted to make like a Xena thing. Like I felt Xena and I wanted to make a Xena dance about anxiety. And so I did, which one I really do really do think that I can utilize, that's like a weird word, maybe not utilize. I can turn my anxiety into something positive with choreography, not necessarily so much dance. It's super weird. Like when I think about, like I've been asked this a lot by like different therapists, like, when you dance, does it help you let go of da 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 and this? And I'm like, no, it actually doesn't. Because sometimes dancing gives me anxiety, like even when I still dance in front of people, whether I'm performing or taking class, and I have to do tricks to help me not have that so I can perform or dance. But for me, at its best, I feel like dancing helps me to let out energy, but it doesn't help me actually work through anything that's happening in my head. It doesn't really help me work through my anxiety or depression, but choreographing does, because I think it's the way that I'm able to express myself through choreography. And this time with the voiceovers and narratives that I wrote, it added that second layer of me having words, which I've talked about this before. I think I'm obsessed with words because it's been so long that I haven't been able to express myself, that I think trying to find the right words, learning how to communicate them verbally so that people more so understand what I'm going through, is really important to me. So this time, my anxiety dance had those voiceovers. And it was a story. It was a story about three warrior sisters who were kept in an encampment with many other girls. Since they were young, they were kept there. They were trained as warriors. They never left the encampment. They were trained to fight these monsters that they've been told about. And they didn't grow up seeing these things. They just knew they were soldiers. This is what they were here for. They're trained to fight monsters. Then one day the king calls them, and he's just like, the monsters are coming. Like the kingdom. So they're called. I guess I'm just going to give you a little bit of the story. Um, so these three sister warriors are called to the king as they're going. The walls start crashing down, like the village around them starts crashing down. So they run, they get to the king who they've never seen, and all these clerics that they've never seen. And all these men, the king, the clerics, and all that, they put their magics into these women because they're like, you need to save us. You're going to be the saviors. And they put all of their wants on these three girls, and then something goes wrong. And they just don't wake up. And so like there is magic. There is a sense of like actual magic happening. Um, Metaphorically, I'm definitely speaking about how men put what they want onto women, like their hopes and dreams, their want, everything happening with Roe v. Wade and stuff like that. Like there is a lot of control. There's a lot of men just want to control women. It is very much like a Handmaid's Tale kind of thing. Um, and yeah, so there's that. So they don't wake up. All these men did these things to these three girls. They don't wake up. And they're brought away because the monsters are coming into the kingdom. Things are crashing in. And so the clerics are trying to escape with them. And then they're being picked off one by one. And the girls are still sleeping. And then the last one tries to ditch them into the water. And so like they go floating down the river and the last cleric dies. But anyways, so when the girls wake up, see, this is a whole story thing. When the girls wake up, they don't know what's happened, and there are things wrong with them. And like Fee, her head is really messed up. Her hands are messed up, and one, like her chest is messed up. And so these girls wake up feeling broken, and lost, and that's kind of like where the piece starts. Like it has that whole narration, and then we start dancing. And I really love this story. It's kind of like a part one. I really love this story because it's really about these three girls trying to figure out what to do with their situation, with the whole thing. Like they're supposed to be the saviors of their kingdom, but they're broken and they're lost, and that's a lot of pressure, which obviously induces a lot of anxiety, and they react very differently. Where Fee, which is my character, I'm just like, I don't care. Like we know what we're supposed to do. I'm very task oriented. I'm very much like, we know what we're supposed to do and I want to do it. I is like, I don't want to die, and we're finally out of like this castle, and we're held captive, and I want to like live and like be myself and not have to like be a warrior for someone else. And one is like, stay together, sisters. Oh my god. And does whatever Fee says and tries to make I do it too to keep the peace. And like that's the dynamic, and those are different ways that people react to different stressors, to different traumas. It's different ways that I react with like my anxiety to different people. So it was really fun and interesting, and I think helpful for me in whatever healing journey this is through my art, to one, put on stage, because I did. This was performed in October. But then two, to actually make a dance film out of it where I'm not the director. So I gave it to my friend Leia Lombos, and she's an amazing Filipina, also Filipinos, director. And she saw the piece in October, and I was like, "Hey, do you watch Xena?" And she said yes. And then I was like, "I would love to make this into a film, and I would love for you to direct it." And I wanted her to direct it because I wanted to focus on performing, and like, and that I wanted to focus on performing. And I'm really glad, because she had so many ideas that I just like wouldn't think of doing. And so I think this might, I've done dance films, but I think for her, me, and then our cinematographer Marissa Rojas, who is amazing, part of TFFC. Oh my god, she's so amazing. And I'm very thankful that she made time for our film, our little dance film. Like, this was a kind of like our first dance film together. I think for them it might have been like their first dance film in general, and it was just such an amazing experience to work with them and see the things that they brought to the table, which, like, I really do love collaboration with people that I respect and admire, and who really do have their own point of view and are like true artists. So it was just such an amazing time. I'm glad to be working with Miko, who was the composer for the music the first time around, who he's also Filipino. We're all Filipino. Um, so if you want to donate money for just that and help some Filipino filmmakers, yes, please. Uh, I will plug that in. But it was just really great to work with them. And it was really great to dance with other people who also like live with anxiety. And that was actually like a really important part of my casting. I wanted people who understood, and could really attach, because this is something that really did mean a lot to me. And so, like, Lorraine and Tanya have both been on my podcast that I've had before, Ready to Talk, or on my streams talking about anxiety and having mental illness and stuff. And I really appreciate their honesty, and that they are very true to themselves, and they are themselves, and they are figuring out also their way of, traversing life while we live with this thing. And so it was really cool for me knowing that we all understood. And I wish I did this a little better in October, when we performed it for October, where we had journaling sessions. But because time and stuff, we do that less and less. And I really wish we kept going with it, because it was cool, and it was cathartic to talk about different themes about anxiety, different topics about coping. And for at least me, I can't speak for them, but for at least me, like, it made the experience like richer, and I felt richer. And also, like, I really loved being able to know like their thoughts and feelings around their characters, or how they connected, and also just like their feelings about anxiety. So, like, it was really good. It was a really good experience so far. I'm very excited. It's going to show in my show called Unravel on June 12th, 7:30 p.m. San Diego. I'm excited to see what it is, because again, I didn't direct it. So I trust Leia. And I told Leia, this is, it's really under her vision now. It's the dance I created, it's the words I wrote and stuff, but it's under her direction now. So I'm really excited to see what she does. And I'm really thankful for their experience. And I'm really thankful to be able to create art, period. I'm also very thankful to create art with, again, people I respect, and with people who understand anxiety, and with people who are open to listening and to the story if they don't. And I'm also really grateful to have this opportunity to help myself along to make something of this anxiety that I live with, because it is a lot. It's a lot. Sometimes it's a lot. Um, and some days are worse than others. If you've been joining me for like my past couple streams, like I'm not doing really well at the moment, like in general, which is really unfortunate. So my anxiety has been higher. Ugh, waking up in the morning, like whenever I wake up in the morning lately, it's just so much anxiety. Even if I know things are going to be okay, or even if I've planned things, it doesn't matter. It just like hits me. And then I have to get up. So I'm always like, I'm always trying to like keep sleeping and not think about things and listen to TV or something so my brain doesn't go off and start waking up, because then it's over. Then I can't go back to sleep. And I really need sleep these days. So yeah, I'm glad that I have something to put my anxiety, whether it be in the form of extra energy, into, or just have a means of like working it out in my head and trying to understand it myself and digest it in this thing that's in front of me now, because it's a dance with people. And sorry, I'm looking at my hand because I burned my hand like a couple weeks ago, and like the blisters are finally peeling off. Anyways, and I'm just grateful. I'm grateful also that, like, I have a stage to work, and it's really funny because the people who have anxiety dance are the same dancers from the dance film. So they're just anxiety people for this piece. And in the staged work, which is Songs of the Secretly Stigmatized, which was like the name that I used the first time that I did this piece in another iteration. Tanya's character, she's one of my dancers, she talks about she finally has a job and she's going back to work, but she doesn't want to be the weird one. And she doesn't know how to like talk about her anxiety or stuff like that. And then Lorraine tells her, basically, she points out that even though like mental health is like a thing now on social media, it people don't actually respond well to people with mental illness if they show it, is what she's trying to allude at. So like that anxiety, and then masking, and it's the themes of masking, right? Masking your anxiety or masking your mental illness comes in. And that's what their dance is about. And for me, like I just feel those things really hard. Like if you've heard any of my streams before, I talk about a lot how like I don't even know when I'm masking sometimes, just because it's become such a part of my life, that I'm high functioning, so I just want to keep doing things and I don't know what else to do. And sometimes I don't even know that I'm doing really poorly until I know, until it happens, and then I know and I'm fully aware, and I'm panicking. So those are things that really attach to me. And it's cool again to see their interpretations, especially knowing that, they both have anxiety too, and so how that translates for them. Dude, it's hard. I feel like, yeah, it's hard. Living with anxiety is hard. Living with cPTSD is hard, because it's like all of the things all together, and it just compounds, and it's not easy. It's not impossible to live, but it's not easy. And then, yeah, I feel like I wanted to give some tips with anxiety, but then I'm just like, do I? I do. I want to give some specific ones, and then like general things. So, well, I guess I want to say this about tips for anxiety and stuff like that. If you like to meditate and breathe, and those are things that really do calm you down and make you feel better, please do them. There's a lot of guided meditations. You can go to YouTube. There's just breathing things. I like to listen to guided meditation where I'm listening to poetry, because when I focus on just breathing, I get mad or my brain goes somewhere else. And I will say, You know, being able to meditate, being able to breathe and calm yourself down is a skill. I will also say it is not a skill I like. And I learned going to dialectical behavior therapy that it's okay that certain skills don't work for you. Because dialectical behavior therapy is all about teaching you a bunch of different skills so you can pick what works for you. So there's a lot of different coping mechanisms, right? I just said, I don't like breathing meditation. I would rather listen to like a poem or something like that and just listen. And that's fine too. There are many ways to breathe and meditate. Um, and I want to say all that because I just want to say, like, don't get mad at yourself if you're really bad at it. Because I'm bad at it. It doesn't mean that you can't get better at it, but it also doesn't mean that if you can't do this, like, you have no other coping skills available to you. That is incorrect. One of my favorite coping skills for my anxiety, like when it's going really fast, and I learned this in DBT too. So, you know, with breathing and meditation, all that, it's trying to get you to calm down and bring the energy down. That makes me, for me personally, trying to think of doing that makes me even more anxious. And I run fast, like my heart runs fast anyways, or like whatever my tempo, I just have like a faster beat. So instead, I was taught to, I guess it's more of a distress tolerance skill, but it's fine. So what I will do, and I've said this before, if my anxiety is really bad and basically I'm starting to spiral in my head and have all these ruminating thoughts that are spiraling down to really bad thoughts, I, if I can, out loud, I will just start naming colors in front of my head. And it's okay to repeat. So like right now I'm like green, light green, red, black, yellow, blue, red, black, white, and I just keep going because it's like an incompatible behavior, right? I can't have my ruminating thoughts if I'm just seeing what I name. So sometimes I do have to do this silently because I'm like in a place where there's other people, right? But if I'm not, like if I'm in my car, because unfortunately my car when I'm driving alone can be a possibly dangerous place for my mind, I start naming colors and I don't stop and I just keep going until I get tired. So that energy goes somewhere. I'm not necessarily having to slow it down, which aggravates me more, but I'm sending that energy into something else that isn't making me spiral. It's just a neutral thing, right? So I'm not being like, oh, let's be overly positive and just be like, yeah, I can do it. It's going to be fine. If that works for you, great, cool. But that stuff doesn't work for me. But putting my head to something neutral and letting the energy go that way and going off until like I literally get tired, that works for me. And that helps with my anxiety. What's another thing I was taught? Oh, I was taught this for actually last year because I was at rehearsal for core and I don't know, I just started getting anxiety. I don't know, it was just because I was having like I was just like nervous. I don't know. There's a lot I could see about that, but let me just skip to what the thing is. But yeah, I was having a lot of anxiety, and so my therapist taught me this thing that I could do before I started dancing, like literally like the moments where I'm waiting for like the music to start and stuff like that. So I'm not just telling myself I suck and I'm gonna like tank this. So instead of thinking that, I would be spelling my name and like silencing one letter. So I'm just gonna do the example. So first I would just spell my name outright, Trixi. Then I'd go Rixi, Tixi, Trxi. And then you go through your whole name. And then if that gets too easy, then, you know, you add your second name or whatever. And that would just, again, it'd be a distraction. It's the, oh my gosh. There's like an actual word for like term for this. It's whatever of incompatible behavior. Whatever. Sorry, behavioral psychology, you left me. But I do find those things really helpful because again, I'm not a person who it helps to necessarily like try to calm myself down right away. Does that mean I shouldn't try to practice those skills? No. Does it mean that I have to practice those other skills and learn to calm myself down in that particular way? No, because this in its way is calming myself down. Me saying the colors and stuff until I get tired, that is me calming myself down. It's just in another way where I'm running out my energy versus trying to actively bring it down. So yes, there are different ways to deal with anxiety. I will put this out there, you know? I mean, I don't know, it still sounds cheesy, but I'm gonna put it out there. It's okay if you have anxiety. If you think you have anxiety, go get diagnosed, please. I think it's really helpful if you get diagnosed. I don't think it's the most helpful thing to, like, if you think you have something, to not get diagnosed professionally. And I know getting professional help might be inaccessible. So if you can, please do so, because it will be really helpful. I think it's really helpful to get that validation, to get a diagnosis too, so that you have options to get more help. Um, Yeah, and if you are also just having, like, anxiety, like, not capitalized A, but, everyone has anxiety, right? We all have anxieties in life, which is different than being diagnosed with anxiety. But, you know, even just the regular part of us being humans, like, having some anxiety about things, those coping skills might work for you too. Learning coping mechanisms to deal with stress isn't bad. I guess that's what I'm saying. But I would also like to say, I also think there is a danger and an irresponsibility. Maybe that's harsh, but that's fine. You know, don't just be like, I have anxiety without being diagnosed, and then saying all these things about, like, mental health, and then trying to make people accommodate to you and all these things. I don't know. Sometimes, man, especially with, like, mental health becoming trendy, people like to abuse or weaponize their feelings, which is really unfortunate. And even I would like to say, even if you are diagnosed with a mental illness, whatever it is, you setting your boundaries should not look like you controlling other people. And I just want to make that clear, because that's just you trying to be controlling and make people do what you want, which is really unfortunate. If people are going to give you grace, they're going to give you grace, but I think part of the deal with learning to live with mental illness is just, one, learning to be responsible for your own mental illness, and learning when, like, sometimes you have to take yourself away from a situation. Um, and I do think people should be understanding, and we should make accommodations in terms of being understanding. I'm not going to get mad at someone if they're having a panic attack and they need to leave, like, work or an event or something. Like, they need to take care of themselves, right? But that doesn't also mean that, like, if someone's having, like, a panic attack, like one of the presenters and stuff, that we all have to stop what we're doing and go over there and really, like, do that. I don't think I'm explaining this very well, but, like, because one, like, who wants all that attention? And, like, things have to go on. There's like a balance that we all have to really think about. And this is becoming ranty because it's something I get angry about. But just that, I talk about this a lot. When you have a mental illness, that is your responsibility. Even when you don't have a mental illness and you're having emotions and you're having feelings, that is your responsibility. And please try not to lash out people. Try not to lash out at people. Try not to control people, and say that's setting your boundary, because you controlling people is not a boundary. It's not. Please think about that. That's really important to me for people to understand that. You having your boundary means, I will not, I cannot have this around me. Let me try to make an example. Say, okay, this is a bad example, but this is all I can think of, because I hate crayons. Like, I really hate crayons. So this is, like, kind of silly, but we're going to go with this example. I hate crayons. I will not use crayons. I really won't touch crayons. I don't want to. I've done it, like, once or twice in the past 10 years, and it's because things were going crazy and I needed to help out, and then I washed my hands right after, but I was really upset. So if I don't like crayons, right, but I say, like, I have to go, say I had a child and I'm going to kindergarten to be, like, the parent for that day in class. I can't be like, you need to take the crayons out of this room. None of these children can use them. No, it's just being like, hey, I'll talk to the teacher. Like, hey, I just want you to know that I'm really uncomfortable with crayons. They actually make me feel nauseous. I will really want to throw up. So what I'm going to do is I can help clean up with a lot of things. If I have to pick up crayons, please tell me and I will bring gloves, or I will bring gloves, but just know that. And I will be trying to avoid the situation with crayons with kids, but I will do my best. Um, and, put that out there. I will help to the best of my ability, but I'll also probably be like, hey, Billy, could you pick up those crayons for me? So I'm still here helping, still trying to keep my boundaries, but I'm not saying these kids cannot use crayons and I'm here today. And hopefully that's clear. Yeah, that's how I'm going to end today. That's how I'm ending today because I think that's enough. I hope you've enjoyed my rant talk. I will say, and I think I said this before, another reason why I also started doing this is because I'm in between therapists. And so um, this has been helpful for me. And I didn't realize how much streaming about mental health and my experiences has really helped me. So I'm glad to be back. Thank you for watching or being here or any of the support you give, whether it's to like my GoFundMe for my dancers and my crew, or with just, like a, hey, hi Trixie. That's cool too, or just, just being here at all for any amount of time. Thank you for the support. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, I think, yeah, that's how I'm going to end. That is how I'm ending today. Thanks, guys. I'm going to X this out.